Okay, so good morning and welcome back in today's class. Okay, so in the till the yesterday part, what we done actually? Okay, we started the journey of the business analyst where we see that who is business analyst, what is the core concepts of the business analyst, what do you mean by the planning and monitoring, what do you mean by allocation and collaboration, what is the life cycle of what I can say of the requirement management and what is the strategic analysis where we see future state or current state, risk assessment, defining the change strategy, all the things. Now the next topic which we are going to be discussed now is basically saying that specify the or not so specify requirement analysis and the design definition. What it says in short, if I say, it says boss, the information, the requirement, the need which you gathered in the requirement allocation step, it's time to structure them. It's time to put them in a design format, put them in a model format. Okay, and then you can verify the requirement. Verify means you can check that okay, this requirement I can do or not. You can validate that okay, this is the valid requirement, means maybe customer says that oh okay, I need some internet page, but you are saying boss, I'm making a static website for you, it's not a dynamic one. So it is not a valid requirement for that particular context. Okay, 1 minute. So in this topic major, we are going to be discuss 5 major cycles, 5 major steps. Number 1, specify and model requirement. But you have to be specified that okay, what you want to be achieve. Then you have to verify that the requirement which I'm getting is accurate. You have to validate that part. That as from the designing perspective, you have to validate. Then you have to define the architecture, that how this is going to be implemented, how these requirements are interrelated. And finally, we see the define design option, that what is the best way to do that part. And the number 6 says analyze the potential value from the recommended solution. If you remember yesterday, we have a concept called the potential value, means I want to know that if I implement this design, then what is the value I am getting in the return. So total 6 tasks, 6 steps we need to be complete in this topic, but the techniques are almost we have done. Only 1 or 2 or maximum 3 or 4 are the new in 1 or 2 topics. Rest all are we done earlier. Okay, now we will start it here. It says the requirement analysis and the design definition area describe the business analyst perform to structure and organize requirement which they identify during the allocation activity. Let me change this text now. Good. Which they discover during the allocation activity, because allocation means I'm just gathering the things. Okay, give me. I'm just gathering it. Now I'm structuring them. Okay, what is the sequence it can be done? What is the dependency it can be done? What model it is fitting? How I can make a pictorial representation? Okay, specify and the model requirement and design validate verify, means all the 6 steps which we discussed, this says we are going to be discussed in this particular topic. Now the main thing which is be here, which I was reading yesterday, the main difference between requirement and design is how they are used and by whom. ये तो हो गया, customer told me that okay Suraj, I want to be implement change management or the incident management. But now the question comes, how they are going to be used and who is going to be used. Is it the customer only going to be used? It is their subordinates going to be used? It is the end user going to be used? What other person is going to be used? So in this case, what happened that one person designs and maybe other person requirement. Like I design your requirement. You said, Atul, I want to be learned BA. I want to be learned service now. I want to become a BA. So I got the requirements from you, and then I start designing that part for you. That is the main purpose of that particular thing. Okay, but in this case, this is another important point we have to be discussed. The business analyst role in modeling needs requirement, design and solution as an instrument से है. मतलब ये सारे जो हैं ये उसका एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, उसका एक वे ऑफ डूइंग है टू अचीव द रिजल्ट. Okay, and sometimes it depends. If my customer, my stakeholder is end user only, then maybe the design will be different. But if my user is business person only, then the design may be different. Okay, in this we have to be see that the form, level of detail, what is being modeled are depend on the context, audience and purpose. If you are designing an incident management for the ITL user, the model, the process will be different, the need will be different. But if you're designing the incident management from the end user perspective, then the purpose, audience and will be different here. Now on the broader side, if I show you from this part, this is what the business analysis value spectrum. Being a business analyst, what I am doing, what is my journey path? I am sitting here and I want to be go here. That is called the potential to the actual. I am in the strategic analysis part. In the previous one, where I find need and the solution, that in which area I need to be implement the solution. In this, I am requirement and designing part. And under the next topic, that is the cost solution evaluation, I am doing the POCs, beta or operating, and then I'm able to achieve my result. Okay, this is a potential, or I can say this is the value spectrum, that from where I stand and where I want to be go. This is one of the important point here. Clear till this point, Suraj? Suraj, you're on the mute, I guess.
All clear, all clear.
Okay. Good. Now let's pick up these points quickly for a high level discussion. Okay, as I say that these things has a 6 major parameters. Specify and model requirement, that is a chapter number 1 or topic number 1. Describe a set of requirements or design in detail. अभी तक हमने what we done कि बॉस मेरे पास रिक्वायरमेंट है, मिले आ गया. अब उसको इन डेप्थ डिस्कस करेंगे, उसका डिजाइन प्रिपेयर करेंगे विद सम टेक्निक्स. Okay, verify, ensure that set of requirement or design has been developed enough for the particular stakeholder. Now we start that by jo requirement I got it, or the what I can say the design I'm preparing, is this suiting to my required stakeholder or not? It should be consistent. ऐसा नहीं हो कि मैं सूरज के लिए बनाया तो कुछ और है और अतुल के लिए बनाया तो कुछ और बन गया. नहीं, it should be consistent across the platform or across the organization kind of things. This हम कहते हैं कि standard process होना चाहिए मेरा. भाई अगर if any fresher is raising a claim expense, the process should be same if a MD is raising a claim process. Validate the requirement. Validate means the solution you are building, the designing your not solution, the designing you're building should be having a business value, और वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के स्ट्रक्चर सॉरी गोल से मैच होना चाहिए. Define requirement architecture, that how these are completely work together and interrelated. एक requirement दूसरे requirement कैसे interlink है, how they are going to be achieve a common goal of the organization. Define solution options, alternatives, methods ढूंढो, multiple तरीके ढूंढो इसको करना है, कैसा कौन सा best way, और finally recommend the solution and find the potential value कि कौन सा process, कौन सा method is well and good to use and giving me the maximum potential value. Then you're going to be use that part, use that particular solution. Like yesterday we take example, we want to go to Ladakh from Delhi or maybe from Calcutta or maybe from Bombay. Multiple ways are there. By flight, by car, by bike, by walk, by cycle, by bus. But what we recommend, let's go by a car. Okay. So why? Because we are getting the maximum potential value in that. That is the reason we are recommending to go for this thing. Now, if I divide these 6 topics as per the BACCM model, as per our core concept model, how I am going to be define this. What is change? This is transform the allocation result in the requirement and design in order to define the change. That is the change here. Need. When you analyze it, kind of a verifying in this part. Solution. Define solution option recommended. This is the last one. Potential value in the recommendation part. Stakeholder. Tailor the requirement and design so that they can understand and usable by each stakeholder group. जो हम यहाँ पर हम करेंगे model. दोबारा पहला concept था that the requirement of the design should be suited to the stakeholder. Value. Analyze and quantify the potential value. This one again. And context. It should be in the format of the understandable and usable by the stakeholders. Okay. Now, if I pick up the first topic of this in this chapter, is called the requirement analysis and design definition, input and output. Overall picture कैसे लगता है मुझे? Means how this complete topic will work, how this complete chapter will work. This is to do this 6 exercise. To do this 6 exercise, you have few inputs. आपके पास requirement होना चाहिए. You should have a allocation results. You should have a potential value from the previous topic. You have a solution scope from the previous topic. If you remember this in this part, define future state, we have a solution scoping part. And then change strategy hona chahiye, which we just discussed yesterday. This one. These are the inputs help you to achieve these 6 results. By these inputs, you are able to do this part and output will be different for the different point. Means everything has been verified, everything has been confirmed now. And these are the outputs. So these are the inputs, the same thing become output, but clearly and approved from the every perspective. Okay. So don't be confused. We are going to be discussed step by step on these topics as well now. Now, the first chapter says specify and model requirement. See, यहाँ पर ना words का बहुत it's a big rule. They're not saying specify the model requirement. No, they're saying specify and model requirement. What they say specifically, the purpose of specify and the model requirement is to analyze, to synthesize and refine the allocation result into the requirement and designing. What they're saying, because if you want to build a model, that is sometimes I got confused. I read it specify the model requirement, but they say specify and model requirement. So it means the requirement which you got from the allocation step, it should be very specific now that आपको actually में करना क्या है. You went to the customer side, customer give you in 5 days, customer gives a lot of things. ये करना है. Now it is a time when you are refining it up to a level where you understand कि boss मुझे actual में करना क्या है. And then on the basis of that you make a design. So don't read it like no, it is and. ये भी करना है और ये भी करना है. पहले specify करो requirements क्या है और फिर उसके basis पर मेरा model और design ready करना है मुझे. ठीक है. So sometime we read it like anything. Okay, specify the model requirements. कोई फर्क थोड़ा ना पड़ा, लेकिन नहीं, यहाँ पर फर्क पड़ता है इस चीज का. ठीक है. So what they say, specify and model requirement describe the practice for analyzing the allocation results. So मैं highlight कर देता हूँ. And creating the representation of those results. अब मैं अगर आप if I talked to Suraj. I said, Suraj, now it's more than 25 days we're doing this course. Now tell me what are the exact learning you got it. And you present me in that format. सूरज बोलेगा मल्टीपल वेज हैं अतुल मेरे पास. I said कैसे? Either you can bring all the discussions in a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages and say Atul this is ready. Or maybe you just pick up the bullet points only and say Atul this is the things is there and with the some pictorial representation, some kind of a design, some kind of a circle, some kind of boxes you present it to me so that I can understand that part. This is the purpose of this particular thing. So whenever you are doing the requirement gathering, like you said that you went for some workshops as well. So try to do the modeling for the same, that how they are interrelated, how I can represent to the customer so that customer also understand it properly. Okay, because sign off is तो लेना होता है ना बाद में हमें, तो sign off लेने के लिए ये सबसे अच्छा तरीका होता है. It is a place where you verify your understanding with the customer कि बॉस जो तुमने बोला वो मैंने समझा है, ये वही है, और जो मैंने बोला वो तुमने समझा है, ये वही है. ठीक है. When the focus of the specifying and the modeling activities to understanding the need, number 1, the output, number 2, here means वही concept, the thing which you told to me, I understand, and the things, the output which I told to you, you understand. This is the activity for the same purpose only, nothing else. इसमें सिर्फ उतना ही डिस्कस होगा, उतना ही क्लियरिफाई होगा मेरा. ठीक है. Now if I come down, inputs क्या है, इसका साइकिल कैसा है? साइकिल बहुत छोटा सा है. देखो, if you see this, it is not very big one, बहुत छोटा सा है. In this you need the allocation result 4.2, 4.3, but the guidelines are the different here. They don't have a guidelines for the stakeholder management. No, they have a guidelines that what is the notation or the standards you're going to be used in the modeling part, which modeling tool you're going to be used, how you're defined or what is your requirement architecture, what is the life cycle here which we see, and what is the solution scope. These are the guidelines which help you to specify this part. And you get the completely, I'm not saying verifying, you're getting the specific requirement and the model that boss, this is the words we have to be achieved. So now once I done this part, I came to know that customer want a static page which should be built in language C or Java, which contains this is the content. At the end it should be one OK button, at the end it should be the scrolling button. This is the specifying, I'm specifying it. Now इसके बाद इसमें change नहीं होगा कुछ भी. If you want to be changed, you have to be go for the change strategy. In the life cycle, if you see defining the change strategy, this one. Sorry, कहाँ गया इसमें force में था शायद. हाँ. तो you have to be define that part कि boss इसमें change कैसे होगा. But here the understanding become very clearly what you want to do and what you want to achieve. Okay. Now if I come to the elements here, clear है सूरज यहाँ तक? कोई doubt, कोई question?
All clear.
Okay, good. Now let's go to the next point or the elements part. Elements means what are the parameters here to achieve this part, to do this exercise. It says number 1, the model requirement. The model is a descriptive and the visual way to convey the information. Like if they remove this picture from here, it is tough for us to understand that what is the cycle of this particular step. So they says, let me build a model for you, a pictorial representation for you and visual way to convey information to a specific audience. काम वही है. The motto is same, to analyze, communicate and understanding. Why we prepare a picture? Why we prepare a pictorial diagram? To make sure that सामने वाले को समझ में आ जाए, उसका understanding और मेरा understanding same हो जाए. Words can create a problem, but picture cannot. And to achieve that, what they say, let's have a matrix. What do you mean the matrix here? In a matrix is used when the business analyst is modeling a requirement or set of requirement that is complex, but uniform in a structure. Means I am building, I have a lot of requirements. One is for I can say for my finance department. Okay. One is for my HR department. One is for my IT department. For them it is a complex part, but the thing is that I'm able to do that part via the matrix. That boss area कुछ भी हो, complex कुछ भी हो, but it will be standard and uniform across the departments. ठीक है, let me read this point again. Matrix is used when the business analyst is modeling a requirement or set of requirements that have a complex but uniform structure, which can be broken into the elements. Means you can break down these in the different elements, and then you can do the things here. To apply every entry in the table, matrix may be used to data dictionary requirement traceability. Basically, if I say we use this part, we use this thing. What I should say, there's a concept called the traceability matrix, requirement traceability matrix. Okay, so what we do in that requirement traceability matrix, we divide the requirement in such a manner and add into the Excel sheet. That was everything should be very clear. So at the last, it should not create a problem for me that I have missed out something here. ठीक. So now metrics are used to prioritize requirement and recording other requirements attributed in the metadata. Means you're kind of making a kind of a table format where we are putting the data dictionaries, requirement traceability, and the gap. Because when you start putting the requirement into a proper Excel format, you are able to identify the gaps as well. You're able to trace them where I'm standing at point of time. There is number one method we are doing for the modeling part, which is good, but it is very time taking. बहुत कुछ लिखना पड़ता है, इंग्लिश लिखना पड़ता है बहुत सारा इसमें. ठीक है. Second, this is a diagram, visual pictorial representation. ठीक है. It is good to depict the complexity, but sometimes it is not able to represent the everything in the picture. ठीक है. Because if I say, okay, Suraj, I have 100 requirements, can you make a picture of this? Definitely will pick up some top 10, top 15, top 20 requirements to show in the picture, not everything. But still it is a good option. Diagram can be used to define the boundaries of the business domains as well. Means how this requirement is interrelated with the other requirement of the other department. It helps me to create the hierarchy actually. Generally itna hum log like you people like me or मैं, if I speak in my case, मैं इतना कुछ नहीं करता, डायग्राम वायग्राम नहीं होता. मैं सिर्फ एक स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट का डायग्राम बनाता हूँ फ्रॉम द सॉल्यूशनिंग पर्सपेक्टिव, बट नॉट ऑन द रिक्वायरमेंट सेट पार्ट. ठीक है. Then they say there are the other ways to do the modeling. You can define the people and the role part. Who is this person? What role they'll be getting to use this kind of requirement? Model representation organization require group of people, role, the relationship with the enterprise or a solution. Means kind of a stakeholder mapping कि भाई incident change create करना है तो इसमें कौन-कौन से stakeholders हैं और कौन-कौन से role और people use होंगे. Rational. Why of a change? Why we need this thing? So in this says you can put the decision modeling, you can put the scope modeling, you can put the business canvas, anything you can do. So kind of these 2 or 3 are there which we already discussed for the modeling perspective. Okay. Now the next one which says is called the activity flow. You can define kind of a flow charts kind of things you can define. Modeling use case of the user story you can define. Based on the capability. that this particular requirement is falling in the set of the which capability, functional decomposition, prototyping kind of things. And finally, data and the information. It's look very heavy. Atul. Actually, if I say it's not good to be on, it's a little bit confusing, but we need to be understand this just a top level that what we are doing. So what they're saying in the element number 1, ki boss, you have to be create the model. Now, which model you want to be used, that depends on the requirement and the mainly on the requirement, not on the solution. So either you can go for the metrics, either you can go for the role or persona, you can go for the capability things, you can go for the diagram format. Any model you can pick up it up. Once you pick up the model, you should analyze that, analyze the requirement. And what do you mean by the analyzing the requirement? Business analysis information is decomposed into the components to the future examine. Means if I'm getting a requirement from my customer, I should divide those requirements in such a granular level so that anything that must change to the future to meet the business need. So that if tomorrow business, no, I want this thing as well in this requirement, you can understand, you can able to accommodate that. Anything that should stay same to the meet the business need. Maybe when you're decomposing it, you find some more requirements to be built up here. You will find the missing components and sometimes you find the unnecessary components as well. Take we are going to the Ladakh via car. Now what is the unnecessary component? कि भाई हेलमेट भी रखना है, ये unnecessary component है. पहले requirement था but अब नहीं है requirement क्योंकि we are going via this thing. No need to be put a lot of heavy jackets for the transport or maybe I can say from the travel time. क्योंकि हम कार में है, कार बंद हो गई तो ये अभी का unnecessary component है, but maybe we read the same into the when we reach to the Ladakh. So analyze requirement is helpful to understand that what I am building and if tomorrow something going to be changed, how it is going to be accommodate in my cycle, or I will find the missing components, unnecessary components as well in that area. Okay, then once you get the requirement analysis, then prepare the requirement attributes. Attributes means what are the field. If you remember that we have done this part, requirement attributing things. What requirement attributing basically says that if I am building a requirement, it is from the you can do the high risk, low risk, priority, budgeting part, designing part, solutioning part. You can do that particular attributes part here. So business analysts identify information of a requirement and their attribute as a part of the allocation result. यहाँ पर जो हमने किया था ना allocation वाला कहाँ गया था, इसमें कहीं में हमने वो किया था कंडक्ट एलिकेशन वगैरह में कहीं था हमारा, जहां पर हमने एट्रीब्यूट्स डिफाइन किए थे एक रिक्वायरमेंट के कि हाई है, मीडियम है, लो है, रिस्क वाइज करना है, कैपेबिलिटी वाइज करना है, फंक्शनैलिटी वाइज करना है, वो चीजें हमने यहाँ पे डिफाइन की थी इसमें. So now it is all which we done earlier, something again we are repeating in the different format now. And last, implement the appropriate level of abstractions. It means now they're saying that level of abstractions of a requirement varies based on the type of requirement and audience. किसको कितना दिखाना है requirement का detail, that is called the abstraction here. It depends. If I'm talking to the end user, I'm not going to show him all the requirement which is be there. I'll just show him the 2 lines which is be required for him to be understand. But if I'm talking to the operation manager or the team lead or the program manager, then I have to give the enough details so that he can understand all the requirement and help me to implement that abstractions part. Okay, because it is well said in the BA area. If a BA speak more, he always is in the trouble. So if you are a BA, you should make sure that you speak only that much which is valid for the required stakeholder. इतना information मत दो कि बाद में आपके लिए problem खड़ा हो जाए. And I saw this example. Sometimes our architects, sometimes our co-BAs, even in my case as well, we're discussing with the customer and we say in the service now you will find this thing, you will find this thing, and the requirement came automatically. It become a new requirement. And then the customer say, no, I want in the same scope only. So it is well said. The level of abstraction is must here. How much to be give? If someone ping me and say, Atul, I need some understanding on the BA. What is the BA? I just give him 5 or 7 lines. But if you call me and say, Atul, I want to understand, then I know that from which domain you're coming and why you're asking this question. So I'll give you the more and more details so that you can understand the topic very clearly. So level of abstraction is very much important here. The business analysis approach may influence the level of abstraction and the choice model. हो सकता है कि जो मॉडल आप पिकअप कर रहे हैं, in that also you have to be set up some level कि इससे ज़्यादा information मैं नहीं दूंगा. Ground level 1 और level 1 level 2 दूंगा, level 3 level 4 नहीं मिलेगा आपको इसमें. If you want to do, you have to check. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Depending upon stakeholder, हमें अपना
Yes.
information provide करना है.
Correct. And it is very important point in the BA area. You should speak, but you should speak only that much which is required for the stakeholder to be understand. बिना बात के ये मत दिखाना शुरू करो कि मुझे बहुत कुछ आता है.
Correct.
That is very much important. That is they are saying it is a level of abstraction you have to be put it. किसको कितना कहां कब कैसे शो करना है उतना ही होगा. ठीक है?
Got it.
Because you are the BA, you want to be get the requirement from the other party. If you speak everything in the upfront, then other party will make a requirement on the top of that. पहले सामने वाले से पूछो बॉस तुझे क्या चाहिए, देन अपना बताओ कि मुझे क्या हम क्या बना सकते हैं. Now to do this part, there's a 5 guidelines of the tools, modeling, notation, and the standard. This says either you are building a model for one stakeholder or n stakeholders. Make sure you use the standard wordings, standard notations to clarify particular requirement in your this thing. Modeling and the specifying part means if I'm saying that okay, this is a business application. Now if I talk to end user, if I talk to ITIL user, if I talk to admin, if I talk to CEO, CTO, anybody, I'll use the same word if I'm referring to the same concept. So it should be standard so that nobody should get confused, and that is then we have a templates here. So standard templates and syntax help to ensure the right information to the right person. Modeling tool, software which you want to be used to draw and storing these matrices and the diagrams. You should knowledge of that particular. Requirement architecture, how the interrelationship will be in this model, which is complete and consistent. कि जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स आपके पास हैं और उसके बेसिस पे जो आप मॉडल बना रहे हो, मेक श्योर ये कंसिस्टेंट रहे. ऐसा ना कि आज तो बन गया और कल अगर कोई नया रिक्वायरमेंट आया 2 महीने बाद आया तो सारा आर्किटेक्चर खराब हो गया. नो, इट शुड नॉट बी द केस. Requirement lifecycle tool, where to organize, store, and share the requirement, and finally the solution scoping part. So these are the major 5 guidelines or the tools which we used into the specify the model requirement here. Now we come to the techniques on this. What are the techniques here? So majorly techniques we already discussed, like it means if you want to specify and model your requirements, then you should have some acceptance criteria. You should have the business capability analysis. You should have a business model, canvas. You have a concept modeling. We have a data dictionary. We have a data flow diagram. We have a data modeling. We have a decision modeling. We have a functional decomposition. So it means there are the multiple ways. Generally, if you ask me, I follow this technique. Acceptance and the evaluation criteria कि boss, if when I say that this requirement has been accepted, जब इसका acceptance criteria met हो जाएगा तब मैं बोलूंगा इसका ये हो गया. मैक्सिमम इसमें मेरा काम चल जाता है. Otherwise I'll go for the some kind of a functional decomposition और थोड़ा सा ब्रेक करने का ट्राई करता हूँ, या फिर I go for the data flow diagram कि फ्लो कैसे होगा इस रिक्वायरमेंट का. So it is not necessary कि आपको हर चीज यूज करनी है. हर टेक्निक यूज करनी है. यू हैव टू बी जस्ट सी कि मुझे किस मेथड से मेरा काम हो सकता है. इसमें दो नए टेक्निक्स आए हैं जो हमने नहीं पढ़े अभी तक. वन इज कॉल्ड द ग्लॉसरी. I don't think that we need to be discussed much in depth for this. Glossary says at the end of the topic, at the end of the book, you have a lot of words available with some few one-liner or few words meaning of that. The glossary says, because if you remember that in this guiding part, we are saying the standard modeling notations. It means I'm referring to the glossary somewhere here. That all the key term which is relevant to the business should be mentioned in the glossary clearly. Now, if I say I, Suraj understand I means Atul is talking about himself, main. But when I'm saying I am talking about I'm talking about the आंख, ये वाला I, देखने वाला I. ठीक है. और if I say ice breaking, when I joined first company, on the day one when we go for the induction, it was mentioned the presentation. Let's have an ice breaking session. अब नए नए कॉलेज पास आउट क्या पता था आइस ब्रेकिंग क्या होता है. मेरे को लगा शायद पता है बर्फ बर्फ तोड़नी होगी भाई, यहाँ पे कुछ होगा. But later we came to know that ice breaking means let's break this silence and bring everybody on the same page, get it comfortable everyone. That is the purpose of the glossary here. So that for you and me, if we're sitting in the same room, we should understand that ice breaking means we are going to be familiarized with each other now. And it is be required. Why? Because it gives a standard part. Okay, multiple definitions होते हैं, multiple meanings होते हैं, so nobody should understand the meanings in some different perspective. Then also we have this thing. It should be used commonly across the discussion parts. And finally, strengths, that is I'm saying that we are using these things in our day-to-day life. And being a business analyst, it is a must for us. If you are writing the process documents specifically, so if you're writing the process documents, policies, or the procedures, or the work instructions, make sure the word you're using, if I say a user need to create a record, then you should mention the same word record in all the documents very carefully. Record stands for any incident, change, problem, request, knowledge article, any new entry into my CMDB is also called a record for me. क्योंकि कहीं ऐसा हो कि मैं when you are saying record, I'm just talking about the incident only, and when I'm saying record, I'm talking about the whole world. That is the reason the glossary is important.
Got it. Even abbreviations हम लोग use करते हैं ना.
Abbreviations are different. Abbreviations are different.
Okay.
Abbreviations means you're putting some big word in the short form.
Okay.
WRT with respect to. Okay, but record is not an abbreviation. Record is a word. Now, if you go for the interview and you ask, okay, what do you mean by the record here? What is the incident measurement, or what is the incident? They say incident is something which is broken or not working or kind of things. How you define the record in the system? ServiceNow says the standard definition of ServiceNow say anything which has the columns and the row is a record for me. And they say, guys, are you talking? If you say I'm saying record, I'm talking everything which is in the ServiceNow. A user also a record in ServiceNow. A CMDB entry, CI entry is also a record in my ServiceNow. So the reason we have to be very careful and define the glossary completely. That this is what we are referring here, guys. Like I say, ice breaking. आपको कहीं बर्फ थोड़ा तोड़ने जाना, इतनी बड़ी कंपनी बैठे आपको बर्फ तोड़ने जाना नहीं. Ice breaking means it is a technique, it is the word we use to get comfortable with each and other part, everyone. Now the next technique says the non-functional requirement analysis. Sometime when we gather the requirement, there's a few requirements which are not a functional part. We discussed this topic approximately day 4 or day 5, which is must to have, but it is a non-functional. So non-functional requirement examines the requirement of a solution, define how well the functional requirement must perform. अब देखो फोन बहुत अच्छा है मेरा, ठीक है, मेरा functional requirement क्या है? I should be able to make a call from my phone. That is my functional requirement. Non-functional requirement क्या है? The phone should be slim. भाई अगर मोटा हो तो भी कॉल तो करेगा ही ना, right? In the earlier days in 90s somewhere, if you have a mobile phone that is very big, heavy, half kg mobile phone, lengthy one, signal और tower होता था उसके ऊपर, but still they make a call. Now also you're doing the same thing. You're still able to make a call. The only difference is that the non-functional requirement has been changed. The quality has been changed. The speed has been changed. The designing has been changed. The look and feel has been changed. That is a non-functional requirement, which is required to fulfill or to achieve the functional requirement. Okay. So what they say non-functional requirement means also known as the quality attribute. कि भाई ये होगा तो अच्छा होगा. Atul, you are teaching well. That is your teaching BA part is very well. But आपने बहुत तेज बोलते हो यार. या आप कई बार ऐसे बोलते समझ नहीं आता. या कई बार आप ऐसे वर्ड्स यूज करते हो जो easy to understand होते. That is if I say okay, you use sometimes those words which is easy to understand. That is a non-functional requirement, which helping me to achieve the functional requirement so that you can understand the words of the or terms of the business analyst. ये quality पे matter करते हैं basically. Okay, if I show you the example here, कांग्रेस में एग्जाम्पल में पढ़ रहा था, non-functional derivative, ठीक है आगे होगा, मैं आपको दिखाता हूँ एग्जाम्पल इसमें, ठीक है. Now what they say is that how to categorize the non-functional requirement. हाँ ये इसमें आएगा एग्जाम्पल. When you say that this internet company is good, multiple factors हैं, इसमें deep dive का कुछ भी नहीं है. We'll go in the high level specifically. Number one, that should be available every time. भाई इंटरनेट यार इंटरनेट बहुत अच्छा है, स्पीड बहुत अच्छी है, but what is a non-functional? It is available 24/7 for the support. ये उसका अवेलेबिलिटी मेक श्योर करता है कि उसका स्पीड हमेशा सही रहे. आपको इशू है, जस्ट कॉल देम, दे विल फिक्स इट फॉर इन द नेक्स्ट 5 मिनट्स. ये नॉन फंक्शनल रिक्वायरमेंट है. कंपैटिबिलिटी, it is compatible with the others as well. Let's take example that if I buy a headphone, sorry, Bluetooth, this thing, iPods. If this is compatible with my all type of phones, I will say yes, this is good. It is a non-functional. Functional तो है कि उसमें आवाज आनी चाहिए, आप बात कर सकते हैं, ठीक है, वो तो चली जाए. But non-functional is that it is compatible with the other processes as well. That is a non-functional part. Functionality. It should able to meet the user need. Include suitability, accuracy, interoperability. यार मुझे ना लैपटॉप चाहिए, अच्छा, ठीक है, but it should be suitable in my budget. It should be by 15 inch. I can use the laptop and connect my TV as well. That is the functionality as one of the non-functional part. So something which you're just building to fulfill the functional requirement, that is called the non-functional requirements here. Maintainability is one of the thing I can say. Easy to maintain, easy to correct the fault, performance efficiency. Heat नहीं होता, मेरे पास लैपटॉप है that did not get heated quickly. काम तो कर ही रहा है वो, उस पर मैं देख रहा हूँ, काम कर पा रहा हूँ, वीडियोस बना पा रहा हूँ, सब कर पा रहा हूँ, but what is the non-functional? The heating is not there. Portability. So it means if I say there's a lot of parameter, if you say portability, reliability, scalability, secure होना चाहिए, usability होना चाहिए, certified होना चाहिए, compliance होना चाहिए, localized होना चाहिए. It means there's a multiple parameters you can say which make your non-functional requirement important to support your functional requirement. Maybe if I say, guys, I am happy to have a food from outside. यार वो ना रेस्टोरेंट खाना बहुत अच्छा बनाता है. There is a functional requirement. उसका functional requirement खाना अच्छा होना चाहिए. But it's a non-functional requirement. Hygiene होना चाहिए. On-time delivery होनी चाहिए. Service should be good. गर्म होना चाहिए, fresh होना चाहिए. बासा नहीं होना चाहिए कुछ भी. So those are the non-functional requirement. So there's a n number of parameters you can define here if you want. क्लियर हो गया सूरज यहाँ तक? इसको सबको डीप में करना है?
नहीं अतुल ठीक है.
ठीक है ना, मतलब कि means it depends that what you want to be achieve and
Correct.
what are the other requirements to help you to achieve that part. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, good. Now, what are the measurement for the non-functional? But how to, yes, this is the point which I'm saying. How to measure that? What they're saying that the process must be easy to learn. But what do you mean by the easier to learn? If you express like this, 90% of the operator must able to use the new process after no more than 6 hours of a training. तब आप बोलोगे मेजर करना इजी है, या 3 घंटे तक अगर मेरा सिस्टम हीटअप नहीं होता, then I say the performance is good. Means you have to put some kind of a limit here, some kind of a numbers, facts and figures here. Only then you will be able to evaluate or measure the non-performance. The system I'm using should be ISO certified. और मैं कब बोलूंगा ISO certified है? When I will able to see the ISO certification on the top of that, it is meeting with the ISO standards. मेरे को पता है 5-6 लिस्ट मुझे दिखा दो, मैं देख लेता हूं और हो जाएगा. Okay, clear हो गया यहाँ तक? Then the context of the non-functional requirements. That because now it's saying that how you are dividing this, how you're categorizing this actually. That in which area it should go as a non-functional. So like they're saying that localization, maintainability are the another context of the same. Usability is the another context of the same. So now it depends that in which area you are dividing your non-functional requirement. It's called the context here. But I don't think that we need a lot of discussion on this part. Usage, yes, it is good to have. Drawback is that कि आपके पास इतने पैरामीटर हो जाते हैं that you missed out your functional requirements sometime, or sometime your non-functional requirement become the functional requirement as well. That is the another limitation of this part. Clear, Suraj, यहाँ तक?
Yes.
Good. Now we have done this part. The last two techniques are there. Is called the sequence diagram. If in the simple words I say sequence diagram means kind of a workflow which we prepared, the flow chart which we prepared. But now here what they're saying, the sequence diagram show how the process or object interact during the scenario. When I am booking a online order, what I am getting, how my user and system is going to be interact. That I do in the sequence diagram. So if I show you something here, this says number one, there should be some lifeline. कि कौन किसको connect कर रहा है, like this. This is a lifeline here. ये. Second say the activation box. Activation box represent the period during which an operation is executed. कितने time का box रहेगा वो, 2 घंटे 3 घंटे, तो वो represent ऐसे करते हैं. A lengthy one. अब भाई, if you see, if I want to book an order online, I click on the pay now. एक page open होगा. I put my credit card or debit card or bank details there. It go back to the system. It will verify my bank account. It will deduct the amount. It will go to the merchant website, verify the results, then come back to me. ये पूरा का पूरा क्या है? ये मेरा activation box है. And the message which are passing here, that how these two are be interconnected, how these two are the interaction with each other, how as a user and how as a merchant we are interacting with each other. So what this says in the simple format, it will look like this. 1 2 3 कॉल जाता है, कॉल से वो सिंक्रोनाइज करता है मैसेज, आगे असिंक्रोनाइज करता है, यहाँ से रिस्पॉन्स वापस आता है. Simple, nothing much. If I say I'm happy if you're using the flow chart, more than happy. But it depends, if you want to use the sequence diagram, you can do that part. क्योंकि इसमें you cannot put the much detail. Flow chart में you can put the activity, a step-by-step process you can put it here. Okay, so nothing to be there. If you're using flowchart, it is good to go ahead. Because BA Box never says that you have to be use only this technique. You can use the technique which is suitable for your purpose. That is the purpose of the given the techniques here, because there's a lot of techniques. You can use any technique which is suiting to you. And the last one, that is called the stakeholder list, map and persona. As the name indicate that when you want to be interact with your customers, with your stakeholders, specifically on the modeling part, you should know that who is my stakeholder and which persona they belong to. Means if you remember that we have done our stakeholder management topic, I'll bring the two things here which is important. When they says when you're working on the stakeholder list, map or persona, you have to be do something like this. Number one, you have to find out the stakeholder list कि बॉस मेरे stakeholders हैं कौन कौन से. किसी को मैं brainstorming में बुलाऊंगा, किसी को मैं focus में बुलाऊंगा, किसी को मैं workshop में बुलाऊंगा, but what are the stakeholders? Who are my stakeholders in this list? Don't prepare a stakeholder list so much lengthy. No, you will be gone in that case. Your stakeholders should be limited, because more stakeholder means more decision will be delayed. अब जो डिसीजन हम 3 लोग मिलकर ले सकते हैं, अगर वही मैं 30 लोगों में पूछूंगा तो 4 दिन लग जाएंगे. अब मैं 3 में पूछूंगा तो 2 दिन में 1 दिन में काम हो जाएगा मेरा. So what this says that let's divide the stakeholder into this mapping part. Is a matrix. High, low, low, high. Influence of the stakeholder and impact on the stakeholder. ये मैट्रिक्स है, ये मैट्रिक्स बहुत बार यूज होती है. ठीक है. What this says, high influence, high impact. I'm talking about this area. मतलब कि जिनका इन्फ्लुएंस आपके ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा है, या उनका इन्फ्लुएंस बाकी स्टेकहोल्डर्स पर बहुत ज्यादा है, और ड्यू टू योर रिक्वायरमेंट दे आर गेटिंग द मोस्ट इंपैक्टेड वन. It should come into this area. Work closely with the stakeholders to ensure that their agreement and support. मतलब अगर आपको डॉट भी चेंज करना है ना, तो आप इनसे पूछो हर बार, because they are the big influencer. They are the stakeholder which are be having a big impact of the change of the need actually. मतलब ये लोग वो होते हैं जो शायद इनिशिएटर होते हैं इस नीड की, भाई मुझे ये चाहिए, तो आपको इनसे पूछना पड़ेगा हर बार. High influence, low impact. This one, high influence and low impact. हाँ high influence, हाँ high influence, low impact कहाँ गया ये रहा. क्यों हो रहा है? अच्छा हाँ, low and high, this one. Ensure the stakeholder remain satisfied. इनका इन्फ्लुएंस पावर बहुत ज्यादा है, लेकिन आपके चेंज का इन पर ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता. But they should be happy. We should make sure that their things had been fulfilled completely. Okay. Then the third one come basically low influence, high impact. ये वाला low influence, sorry, हाँ low influence, high impact. ऊपर वाला sorry, हमने vice versa कर दिया. The stakeholder monitor to ensure stakeholder interest or influence don't change. इन लोगों से सॉरी, ये तो लो है ना, हम क्या करें, लो इन्फ्लुएंस एंड हाई इम्पैक्ट. ऊपर वाला था सॉरी, ये वाला. इस केस में क्या, इस हमने पहले ये वाला करना, सॉरी. कीप इन्फॉर्म्ड मींस दीज आर द स्टेक होल्डर. हाँ हाई है ना, स्टेक होल्डर इम्पैक्ट हाई एंड ये लो है, ठीक है. कीप इन्फॉर्म स्टेक होल्डर लाइकली टू बी कंसर्न्ड. मतलब आप इनको सीसी में डालते रहो हमेशा, ताकि बाद में ये ना हो कि मुझसे पूछा नहीं था या मुझे बताया नहीं था. Maybe there is no action required from them, but you should keep them in the loop. ठीक है. And at last, low and low. इनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, इनको कभी कभार आप अपडेट्स भेजोगे तो चलेगा। These are the stakeholder part. So वो जो 9 हमने बनाए थे, what I can say, स्टेक होल्डर का जो 9 का लिस्ट हमने बनाया था, 9 एलिमेंट्स का लिस्ट बनाया था, now you can divide that into this particular area. Okay. The last type of stakeholder diagram which we have in our agenda is called the onion diagram. कि बॉस आपके चेंज का सबसे ज्यादा फर्क किस पे पड़ेगा? You can do here. Okay. You can see here that who is the solution delivery, who is the affected organization unit, enterprise and external customer. मतलब कि इसमें ये लोग तो आ ही जाते हैं ऑटोमेटिकली। ऑनियन कैसा होता है? ऑनियन लेयर वाइज होता है, राइट? एक लेयर, 2 लेयर, 3 लेयर, 4 लेयर, जो सबसे अंदर का ऑनियन होता है, दैट इज बी कवर्ड बाय द एवरीथिंग. So this says that if you're able to define that who is the one who is getting most impacted, who is getting more valuable, who is getting more affect your change, you should put in the inner side here. That is called the onion model. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, and then you can prepare the RASI model here, which you already know: responsible, accountable, consult, and the inform. You can prepare the RASI model, and the last, it's a persona. Persona basically says it is a fictional character. Ki boss, when I say what this role he is doing, Atul, he is a admin here. That is his persona. It is the ITL. That is its persona. It is the end user. It is the persona he's be doing at point of time. Okay. So ultimately we know these things, that what techniques we have to follow for the stakeholder part. But little bit we have to know. Number one, you need to identify the stakeholder, and number two, if you are able to make that matrix, you will never fail in this area, because you know that to whom you have to be reach out at what time. Okay, rest the state modeling, use case and scenarios, we already discussed that part. So in this case, stakeholder, any stakeholder, everybody is my stakeholder here. From small to big to low position to the high position, everybody is my stakeholder here. And what are the outputs you're getting? You're finalizing the set of requirements, verifying, and you're designing their model now. In the next topic, we're going to be discuss that how to verify that model actually. Okay, clear हो गया सूरज यहाँ तक?
तो वो जो ये बताया ना आपने, डायग्राम बताया,
हाँ हाँ,
हाई स्टेक होल्डर, हाई इन्फ्लुएंसर, में हम लोग क्या करते हैं, आलसी, उसमें मतलब रोल डाल के देखता हूँ मैं.
करेक्ट.
हाँ, कि सीटीओ कहाँ पे आएगा, प्रोग्राम मैनेजर कहाँ पे आएगा, एंड यूजर कहाँ पे आएगा.
करेक्ट, बट सिर्फ रोल डालने से काम नहीं चलेगा. आपको देखना है कि इसमें से कौन कहाँ पर इम्पेक्टेड है मोस्टली, मतलब कि किसका डिसीजन आपको इम्पैक्ट कर सकता है और किसके डिसीजन से आप इन्फ्लुएंस हो सकते हो.
ओके,
वो जरूरी है यहाँ पर. हो सकता है कि मेरी टीम में अगर एक L2 का एजेंट है या L2 की टीम है, मेरे पास सर्वे डेस्क की टीम है, उसके इनपुट से मैं बहुत ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट हो सकता हूँ. ये मेरे डिसीजन से या मेरे चेंज से वो बहुत ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट होगा. तो दैट इज माई हाई एंड हाई हेयर.
ओके,
इसलिए मैंने बोला ऐसा नहीं कि सीटीओ ही यहाँ पर आएंगे, हो सकता है यहाँ पर मेरा L2
वो
वाले.
बोल रहा था.
करेक्ट, हाँ, मतलब कि योर पॉइंट इज राइट, बट ट्राई टू बी आइडेंटिफाई. अब देखो यहाँ पर भी कई तरीके हैं. आप आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हो कि उसका रोल क्या है, अभी वो क्या रोल पे है, या वो काम क्या करता है, उसके बेसिस पर भी आप ये मैट्रिक्स बना सकते हो अपना. उसकी कैपेबिलिटी के बेस पर आप मैट्रिक्स बना सकते हो उसका, कि लेट्स हैव 5 कैपेबिलिटी इन माय टीम, उसके हिसाब से मैं मैट्रिक्स बना के देखता हूं अपना. So you try to define that matrix and then we will see.
Okay.
ठीक है?
ठीक है.
So let me close that class here only. Okay.